Tucked away in plastic containers, in this dark closet of a lab, a grow-up, the legal kind.
So John, we're in the lab here. This is where you guys grow the magic mushrooms. Can you take us through how it works?
So this is where we start the process. These are called agar plates that we use to first inoculate the spores of the mushrooms.
And then where does it go?
Yeah, so from there, it will inoculate these monotubs.
We're in this commercial building in Burnaby, British Columbia, with John Hume, a mycologist who grows magic mushrooms for Filament Health. It's approved by Health Canada to produce psilocybin for a growing number of clinical trials around the world, a potential treatment for mental health conditions like depression and addiction.
And they grow super fast. So from here, they will be almost completely mature and ready to harvest after just about 3-4 more days.
It takes a pile of fresh mushrooms to make a tiny amount of the drug. They harvest 50 grams, dry it, extract the psilocybin, and produce a pill with a 25 milligram dose.
And that one pill, that's potent.
Yes.
Because this is a lot of magic mushrooms.
Yeah, it's certainly a macro dose, a heroic dose, some people might say, is what you're seeing here. It would be a very potent experience, for sure.
Interest in psilocybin and its medicinal benefits has soared in Canada. So has the business around it. Health Canada has approved 69 companies to produce the drug and authorized 36 clinical trials.
These are capsules that have been packaged for use in a clinical trial.
For Filament Health CEO Ben Lightburn, psilocybin has big potential, a possible way to treat the national mental health crisis.
We have these substances which humanity has been using for thousands of years, which may provide a potential solution, or certainly need to be considered as a potential valuable tool in the war against many of these other very serious problems that we have in society.
Most of us think of magic mushrooms as mind-altering recreational drugs, but psilocybin is still a controlled substance in Canada. It can't be sold or purchased, but Canadians can access it through Health Canada in one of 3 ways: as part of a clinical trial, through the Special Access Program where a healthcare professional needs to request the drug, and finally by getting an exemption to the Controlled Drugs and Substances Act.
So Ben, we saw the mushrooms over there, and then we saw that they eventually come into this capsule form here.
To properly study the benefits, and in case it's ever approved as a medication, Lightburn says standardizing the product and dose is key.
When a doctor writes a prescription, they wouldn't write, if you take a cap, take half as much than if you take a stem, and write that in the notes. No, a doctor needs to be, or a clinical trial investigator, they need to be assured that there is a very high degree of standardization between the participants in that trial, and then eventually once that product is prescribed as a medicine out in the population.
So we know how it's grown, and we know there's demand, but how does it help someone struggling with a mental health condition? We asked UBC Okanagan psychology professor Zach Walsh.
If someone were to be in a psilocybin-assisted therapy session, what would that look like?
So the way that most of us are doing it today is with a real emphasis on the combination of the therapy and the psychedelic medicine.
Walsh has worked extensively with psilocybin, both through his research and with patients, 7 in the past year, guiding them through day-long trips.
What happens for people is often they'll have new perspectives on their behaviors. They may have some difficult experiences from the past that they haven't processed fully that can come up and be experienced in a new way and have new perspectives on that.
So what's the risk if someone were to, pick up some magic mushrooms from someplace, take that trip themselves?
These are powerful drugs, so that when you take them, you're really disoriented and you're not able to make sound judgments.
Walsh says there's a growing body of research around the benefits of this treatment for depression, but some studies point to risks too. In rare cases, it's been linked to psychosis, especially for those with a family history of schizophrenia.
In Canada, are we committing enough research to this?
The short answer is no. We really need to fast track this because, we see the rates of suicide, we see the rates of overdose. They're just out of hand. This is one of the major causes of death and disability in our society. So we should be throwing all our resources at it.
Pressure has been mounting in Canada for more studies. Late last year, the Senate Subcommittee on Veteran Affairs urged governments to fund large-scale research programs to see how psychedelic-assisted therapy could help veterans with post-traumatic stress disorder. Veterans like Kelsey Sharon, who testified at the hearing last year.
Time after time, our veterans have stood up selflessly to protect this country. Yet, we are being left behind to fall through the cracks of the system once again.
You know, when I think about it, the majority of people that served with me were 18 and 19.
Sharon joined the military at 18, inspired after seeing a veteran with a chest full of medals on a bus.
Something about her struck me, and it was really profound because what I'd realized is that woman had lived a life worth dying for.
By 19, she was serving in Afghanistan. It was there she developed severe PTSD.
I spent, 2009 from the moment of my injury to 2011 being shuffled around the military. They didn't know what to do. They didn't know how to treat me. They were putting me on all these drugs. They were isolating me from my unit with my support networks. And I was kind of left to deal with this on my own.
Sharon was medically discharged in 2011. Back in Canada, she began a new war with herself.
I was incredibly suicidal for the majority of my 20s, which was really unfortunate because these medications are given to you and they numb you out, which does not give you the ability to process anything. It stunts you and holds you in place.
Last year, Health Canada approved Sharon to use psilocybin through its Special Access program. But it's not a big club. So far, only 176 Canadians have this kind of access.
Personally, how has it helped?
Of course it's helped. It's alleviated depressive days, and it's taken me from when I do have those days, instead of going to the basement, we just go to the middle floor. It allows you to move through thought a lot clearer. It allows you to look at perspective shifts. And when you shift your perspective, everything else around you in this entire world changes.
A powerful result, but she says the struggle to access the treatment was far too great. It took her more than 8 months.
I'm lucky I'm a younger adult that could handle the stress and the back and forth and the constantly having to prove that you've tried everything. I cannot imagine somebody being a stage 4 cancer patient who is fighting to have access just to the simplest thing which grows in the ground that could help literally alleviate the end-of-life depression, the pain management issues.
How easy do you think it could be for someone stuck in this bureaucratic process of trying to get approval to just throw in the towel and say, this is too hard?
It's probably why so many people just go to the black market. Why should we have to fight this hard to get it?
And Joel Ballard joins us now. Joel, we just heard Kelsey mention the battle for access was too challenging for her. What does Health Canada have to say about that?
Dan, Health Canada told me that it aims to make a decision on all special access requests within 2 days, but it admits it can sometimes take longer. Health Canada also says it understands there's a lot of interest in psilocybin, but it's still a drug that hasn't been authorized yet, so it has these safeguards and these requirements in place to keep Canadians safe.
Now, this is still a relatively mysterious industry for many people in Canada. What other conditions could it possibly help?
Well, I had a look through some of the clinical trials, and they're researching psilocybin's potential benefits for a huge swath of conditions. We're talking everything from cancer-related anxiety, alcohol use disorder, even something like chronic lower back pain. Dan?
The CBC's Joel Ballard, thanks very much.